Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, loud and clear, bro.
Loud
Or
and clear.
let's start. So my topic is all about Lando. So basically local development stack. Right. So a little information about me. Oh, 10 years ago, I just a regular farmer working in a rice field. And also after that, I jumped into a janitorial job. Then I become disc jockey and an electrician. And then I started venturing into web programming, uh, Joomla that time. And then I was hired by CNN, and that's I started working with Drupal, Fox, and then these are most of my big projects. Okay, so yeah, right now I'm working with Panchon together with Paul and El and the other folks here. So yeah, until today, still we have this different version of local or local stack. Like some of us or some of the folks still using some are uh, prepare native, mom, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so these are actually since I started web development, these are the stacks that until now they're still alive. Okay, so and this is uh, actually where's the cause of the problem most of the time when developing in the local and then deploying this changes we made into the production and started not working and it's failing. So yeah, this is the thing that what Lando is trying to address. First, what is Lando? So Lando is a free and open source cross-platform local development environment and DevOps tools built on Docker container technology developed by Tandem. So yeah, so behind the scenes, Lando behind the scenes is Docker, still Docker. So some prepare Docker Compose, but yeah, Lando is much easier since it only involves a little bit of configuration to nothing. Okay, just install and then run the commands. Okay, so installation. So I just put the links here for different operating systems. And it requires Mac 10.10 or on Windows, it should be 10 Pro Plus with the Hyper-V running. And on Linux, it requires Linux kernel 4.x or higher. Okay, so related tools. So there are other tools like this. Daxal is one of the, it's the same almost. It's also built with Docker. I tried this one, so it's good. And also there's DDev, which I think L used yesterday. And yeah, I put a link here which differentiate these three tools. So made by folks in Drupal Easy. Okay, so yeah, assuming that we have Lando already installed locally. So the first thing that you need to do if you're going to spin up an environment is just run Lando init. So it will initialize a configuration in a directory where you executed this command. So it will ask you which directory you want to get the code base, and by default you can it will for example, assuming that you have a Drupal code base already installed in your local, so just run that in that directory. Or you can pull actually the code base from GitHub or from Pantheon if you're using Pantheon for development, or any Git remote repository. And if you don't have a code base, so assuming that you run Lando in it, which basically will just create a .lando.yaml file, then you can download the latest Drupal code base. And then here in the screenshot, just download and then untar. And to start the environment, you just need to use Lando start command. Okay, so when running this command the first time, actually it depends on your internet speed. This may take some time because it is going to pull the required images from the Docker Hub, and then it will store that Docker images locally. Okay. So yeah. So this is an example when running that command. So it's downloading the images, and then it will create the environment after. So yeah, there. So when it's done, it will actually shows you how to access the URL. So in the form of HTTPS, HTTP, and also using Lando.site, which acts as a proxy. But this requires an internet connection. So if you're not connected to the internet, it's not possible. It's not going to work. Okay, so by default, we have two services here. The application server, which is powered by Apache, and then database, which is MySQL. So assuming that we're done, so when we access this URL in the browser, localhost 32774, then we get redirected to the installation page because it's not installed yet. Okay, so we're done with the installation. So for example, you wanted to know what are the credentials. So for example, the database here. So yeah, lando.info is the command. And then the database connection. So if you're going to connect externally, which means via your host, so localhost, and then this is the port. But if you're connecting inside the application server, so you can just use database and then port 3306. All right. So yeah. This is the database name, Drupal 8. And then the password is Drupal 8 as well. And then the user, which is Drupal 8. So this is actually the application name. Okay. So yeah, let's proceed. So here's the PHP version and MySQL version. Okay. So you might ask, what if I have a site, or I am developing a site that requires Redis and also requires Nginx. So yeah, let me show you. So by default, in my .lando.yaml file, I'm using the recipe Drupal 8. So yeah, there's nothing in here. So I wanted to add Redis. So I just add this services, and then cast server is actually a custom name. So you can just rename it like Redis server or object server or whatever name you want. So, but the type is Redis. By default, this will use the latest Redis image from the repository and then port forward through And then all you need to do is after saving the configuration, you just need to run Lando rebuild. So that will reprovision the entire stack. And then this will take some time as well, because this will pull the Redis image from the repository. And then once you're done, if you run Lando info again, you will see that there's another service attached. So server, this is the name, service name that I specified earlier. And here's the connection information, internal and external, and the version as well. Okay. So yeah, that's how easy it is. Just specify the service that you're going to use. Okay. So how to connect? This requires that you have Redis CLI installed locally. So Redis CLI-h, the host, the external connection host name. Please take note that you cannot use internal connection because this one is unreachable. It is only reachable inside the application server. Okay. So yeah, and then the port. All right. Oops. Okay, so yeah. So when you run that, the command info, you will actually, it will return Redis information. So just to check if the Redis is working. So yeah, this assume that you enabled Redis module already, and then did the required configuration in your settings.php. Okay, so yeah, now I wanted to add additional service, which is Varnish, just to make sure that, I'm trying to mimic my live environment setup. So this is how I made it. So I name it static server. You can call it whatever you want. And then the type is Varnish, and then the backend is, it will connect to the app server. And then I also enable SSL because I wanted to check via HTTPS as well. Okay, so every time that I need to, I add news service, I have to, you need to run Lando rebuild. And then it depends. Sometimes you need to Lando start before you can visit the site, because sometimes the port changes in my experience. So yeah, right now you'll see that there is a static server URLs here. Earlier, these two are missing. So yeah, this is the Varnish URL, and then this for here is the URL that you will be connected directly to the Apache server. This will bypass Varnish. Okay, now in the services section above, I have now app server, database, cast server, static server. This is for HTTP, and then static server for HTTPS. Okay, so other features. So I can also run Composer update. So just run Lando Composer update, or Lando Composer require to install modules. And then yeah, this how it looks like. Now there's an Lando config as well, which will show you the entire configuration of your Lando setup. So it's a very long list. Okay. And Lando logs, which will tell you if there's some problem. You can check here to just to get an idea of what the problem is. And also I can execute Lando Drush against the site. So in this case, since it's a Drupal 8 site, I run Lando Drush cast rebuild. Okay, so yeah, another handy feature that sometimes I use is the Lando Drush core CLI to if I'm debugging some stuff inside the Drupal environment. So for example, I can just call directly any Drupal APIs inside the PHP command line. Okay, next. Oh yeah, I'm done actually. It's really fast. Questions? Hello? Am I connected?
Yes, no question.
Yeah, so it's actually this is very straightforward. If you go to Lando documentation, it's really easy to understand.
Yeah.
That's why it's really fast. So there's a bunch of things that you can do. For example, if you're working with Pantheon, Lando is actually advisable if you're using build tools. So the integration is really nice. So you can experiment a lot of things in there because it supports so many services like Milhugs, Apache Solar, and stuff. Yeah, just in case you have questions. We still have a lot of time. I believe L is a fanboy of Dedev. Is using that one, and I am Lando. Oh, by the way, you can configure Lando as well to use your local domain, so local DNS. Because the problem here is if you're in a remote area, there's no internet, you're not able to run Lando because this one depends on Lando proxy, which you need to connect on their service. So in that case, you have to configure your local setup to use local DNS instead to run to start Lando. Why you guys have no question? Ask me, please. Questions.
So it can run locally, right, Gerald?
The what?
Lando and everything, Lando setup. Like if we have Windows, for example, on our local computer.
Yes. So there, Lando supports Windows. It's actually cross-platform. And what is good about this is once that Lando.yaml is committed in the repository, when the other team pulls the code base, all they need to do is just run Lando start, and they have the same setup as yours.
I'm looking at the documentation on Windows 10. What's Hyper-V? Is that correct?
Hyper-V is for I think Hyper-V threading for virtualization something. So before that is configured in BIOS, but I think right now you can configure while the OS is running. I'm not sure. I haven't touched Windows for almost 10 years, so I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, one of our colleagues is our previous Pantheon colleague is one of the core developer of Lando. So yeah, we have like you can ask more question or technical question to him.
Okay.
So yeah, like there's no excuse that hey, it's working on my local machine because you have now the power to actually configure your local environment the same as your live environment, like the version of the library that you need to use, the version of uh, Nginx or the Apache or Redis or PHP or Drush, Composer, yeah, Git.
Question, Gerald.
Sure.
Yes, I've seen the Lando page is supporting Apache and Nginx. Would it also support, is possible to have Lightspeed a recipe? Since I seen on the Lando, there are no recipes for Lightspeed server.
Yeah. Actually, you can contribute under development if you wanted. So basically, all you need to learn is how they build the recipe. So basically, you can uh, uh, create a PR if you wish to use Light TPTPD or any services that it's missing there. And by the way, they have a Slack channel. Let me show you. So they are very active in there. Here. So yeah. So if you guys wanted to learn more about Lando, then you can join in this channel in their Slack community. And yeah, you can ask questions. Cool. So yeah, imagine
Thanks.
that. Sorry.
I just said thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So imagine what you can do with the Lando. Let's services. So these are the services that you can integrate. So Apache, Elasticsearch, Go, MailHub, MariaDB, Memcache, Mongo, MS SQL, MySQL, Nginx, Node, PHP. So there's a lot. And it requires very little configuration. So actually onboarding using this tool is not that difficult because you don't need to memorize a lot of configuration. Just 2 to 3 lines of configuration in the YAML file and you're done.
So you use this a lot, Gerald, or depende sa project?
I'm heavily using this. It's because, for example, since I'm with Panchon and I wanted to debug, for example, I just wanted to check if there's the customer problem is application or infrastructure. So since in the platform, you cannot really touch platform configuration. So what I need to do is pull the site locally by Lando, and then since I can alter the recipe locally of the for example, the Barnes configuration or the Nginx or configuration PHP. So now I can have an idea of if it's a platform or an application issue because I can change the configuration.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
And it's cross-platform. So yeah, even if you're on Windows and one of your colleagues is on Linux or on Mac, still not a problem because you can have the same environment setup.
And very good documentation.
Yeah, yeah,
Complete.
I agree. Before they called the Scalabox, and
Oh,
they killed it, and then yeah, it becomes Lando.
okay.
Sir.
No questions? You guys are so quiet. So Lando, oh Lando. So this is actually the available command. So if you run Lando outside your Drupal directory, some of these commands are then missing. For example, Lando Drupal, it will not show up because the Lando was not able to detect if it's a Drupal installation or not. So yeah, it only show if you're inside Drupal directory. And then you can also DB export and import. So it's very handy actually. And if you wanted to debug inside the environment, you can just run the SSH. So I'm now in the default directory, which is the app directory. This is the shared volume between your host and then the app server.
Sir, can you try Lando share?
Sorry,
Can you try Lando share?
Lando share. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is one of the best feature because oops, URL. What's the URL now? URL is needs to be in the form of localhost port. Okay, I'll get the address. What's the address? It's like how in Grok works, which allow the outside world to connect to your oh sad to your local. I think this is related to the what I did earlier in my configuration. I've been playing with the SSL certificate. No, it's not going to work. But yeah, Lando share is will allow you to allow you someone from your team to check your local instance, for example. So it's useful if you wanted to demo, but you don't want to upload or you don't have a remote server.
Yep. Yes, sir.
What else? All right, so here, be careful when also you're using Docker system prone because, for example, when the container is
Chato.
sorry,
Ay, sorry.
Kala ko may tumawag kay Lando eh.
My dog.
Yeah.
I heard Lando.
Another thing to remember here, guys, is, for example, since some of you might working with Docker directly, so be careful with the prong command, because that will wipe out the data of your Lando sites. So, yep. Okay. Question. You guys quiet. Any more questions, Jerome?
No more questions.
How about Wendell? I say Wendell here. He's so quiet. Speak, bro.
Yo, Wendell.
Si Kari ata yun eh.
Yeah, si Yoshi yan eh. Si Wendell.
Kasi ano yan, si Oscar.
Dito pala si Yoshi, oh.
Oh, si Yoshi yan.
Suplado nga lang, di namamansin.
Baka may pinaan. Ewan ko.
Oh yeah, you can also try this. Try Dedeb and then try Daxan. So yeah, it's actually they're good tools for local development. So since I have plenty of time, let me try to pull one of my Panchon sites. Just to see how it works with the platform. Where's my site? This one. Drupal does it as composer. Oops. Lando init Panchon. So this is how I'm going to pull my Panchon site locally. Yep. Panchon, I told you. Enter the token. What is my token? Yes. Which the site? That's 8. That's composer. It's really slow. What's wrong? Okay. So yeah, this one here is really slow if you have tons of sites under your account. What's your specific question, Sir Jerome?
Varnish. Pwede pa demo? Pwede ba yun?
Yeah, just all you need to do is if you, for example, you wanted to add varnish. Here's my configuration actually. Demo cut.lando. So if you want to add varnish, so all you need to do is add this section in lando.yaml. So your front end is varnish, and then your back end is either Apache or Nginx, which is called app server by default.
Okay.
So, now I'm pulling the site. And then also in Lando, you can also set up a load balancer. If you're just playing with multiple application server, for example, in your lab environment, you have it is load balance. So of course, locally you wanted to test that because some of the features, for example, export, import, they usually fail because they get routed to, for example, you're running a iteration. So the first batch is connected to app server 1, and then the next iteration is got redirected to app server 2. And since their file system, if they're using TMP, that's a problem because the temporary folder is not shared across multiple app servers. So the usual solution there is make sure that the file system is shared across multiple container for it to work. Because that's also the most common issues that we encountered in Pantheon. The export and export is usually failing on multiple application because by default, some of the modules were designed to work on a single app server. All right. Taking so long. Someone's calling. Tao po.
Pasok po, pasok.
Carry talaga, oh. Saan yan? Bumili ng pandesal, eh.
May tao daw, Paul.
Grabe, 1,000.
Pandesal mo, Paul.
Ubus na, bro.
Na,
Ubus na yung 250.
You're now a baker, Paul.
Ano na to? 1,500. Donation, eh. Hindi, puro donation to, bro.
ayun, mahal na ba?
Sa frontliners.
Still, it's
Yeah.
beginning. Right, so this is since I forged all the images earlier, it's taking some time because it has to re-download all the images that needed again. Oh well, and my internet is really slow. Anyone have experience with Lando here? No other Lando users except me?
Mamaya, meron na.
Let's go. I don't know if it's just me. I have this problem in Mac that Docker uses almost all of my CPU power. And for example, my battery is 100%. After a couple of minutes, like 5 minutes, it will jump to 2% or 5% battery. Because
Even
of,
if you specify your one, bro, you can actually specify the number of CPU core that you can allot.
actually, I just play with that earlier, bro. I'm not sure. But yeah, as of now, I haven't encountered it yet. But yeah, before, like earlier this morning, my laptop is unusable because of the high CPU usage when I run Docker. And there's an existing thread in Docker GitHub where a lot of people complaining about high CPU usage. And it turns out that that is because of the file system. Let me show you. By default in the preference, because of the volume mounted. So by default, it mounts users. So for example, if you have tons of changes in your users in the space under your user, so Docker has to work by to sync all that changes. If you have a running Docker container, so yeah, and then 2 hours ago I removed that, and then I specified the folder that I just need to share, and it seems working now. I don't know. Just in case that if you encounter the same problem. So this is my resources. Before it's to 4 CPU. Yeah. So seems
So 8 gig lang yung memory ng laptop mo, bro?
16, bro.
Okay.
But I'm using 8 only. I allocated 8 gigabyte.
8 ang recommended niya, right?
Yes. I don't know. I read that you at least need to allocate half of your physical RAM to Docker.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't think I have more to share. Maybe you guys can grab your coffee while waiting for the next.
Thank you, Gerald.
I'm the last speaker.
Actually, you're the last speaker, bro. We
Yeah.
have trivia night at 5 to 7.
5 to 7.
In room A.
From A.
5 to 8 pala. 5:30 to 8 p.m. evening
And-
social trivia night, and bring your beer or any drinks. And then we will do a virtual toasting.
Are you going to kick out if they don't have beer or any liquor?
We can bring water, bro.
Liquor ban.
Alam ko, ang dami mong kan dyan eh. Ang dami mong...
Yeah, I have.
Meron ka
I
pa
have-
ba dyan mga kan, bro? Collection?
Yeah, I have. I think I have beer here. I also have Pondador and Jim Beam.
Hmm.
Just waiting.
Hmm.
I think I'm waiting for Timothy to come here. Come over. Yeah, we're just neighbor.
Magkalapit lang ba kayo? Nangitim?
Yeah, he's living in Acacia. Sa Acacia siya, bro.
Malapit lang.
Kaso suplado yun, hindi namamansin. Kita mo nga yun. Ha?
Ako pa yung suplado. Joke.
Well, I think because El is recording this session and we're talking nonsense already. You're recording as well, Paul?
Bro?
Nire-record mo rin pala. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Have some rest.
Salamat.
Yeah. Have some
So
rest.
guys,
And
if you still have time later for 5:30 to 8 p.m., we have trivia night. I think there will be prizes that we'll be giving away.
Ako sa'yo, bahala ka sa buhay mo.
Wala, Gerald.
Paala ka, Paul.
asawa ko yun.
So, Gerald yun.
Bahala na daw ako sa buhay ko. Iinom na naman daw ako.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Gerald, Paul.
Record na.
Na-record. Na-record. Sinabihan mo ang bahala ka sa buhay mo.
Hindi ko sinabihan ko, no?
Nag-away na, bro.
Parang sinabihan mo, sabi nga alak mo.
Bye.
Wag mo na,
Bye,
tuloy
everyone.
natin.
Wala na, baka magilitan na ako dito ng leg.
Recording pa.
Wag mo i-stop, Gerald.
Thanks, folks.
Hi, Sir James. Long time no see.
Yo, James. Kumusta na? Nabero na, oh. Hindi, minessage niya ako private. Kumusta na raw ako? Hindi naman nabero.
Kamusta dyan, bro? Dyan
Ito sa amin?
Oh,
Santa Maria, lockdown pa kami. Kayo ba?
lockdown pa rin naman.
Nakakainip na nga eh.